Before I set out on this adventure, several people told me of a holy man who lives in the middle of nowhere in southern India. He is reported to levitate, to be able to walk several inches above the ground, to materialize rings and other items out of thin air, and to produce a sacred ash known as vibhuti from his fingers and his bare feet. He claims to have been born of immaculate conception, and there are legends that the guru has fed the multitudes, healed the sick, and raised the dead. Though his followers have grown to numbers tens of thousands, his early audience included George Harrison and John and Yoko. Citing the necessity of faith, the guru has never submitted to an examination of his powers under a controlled environment. At least one inspection of the vibhuti produced from his hands revealed the source to be incense and cow dung. This last thing I don't know when I set out for Puttaparthi to find him. I just think, since it hasn't been a girl, or the hash on the beach, or the priest at the Ghats, or anything else on this journey, maybe he's the thing I came here to find. The bus from Hampi to Puttaparthi does not take a direct non-stop route. And like most other transport in India, comfort appears never to have been a consideration in its design. I arrive in town just before 10 p.m., tired and dirty, and just wanting a place to lie down and sleep. I find the gates to the ashram easily enough, but I am turned away, along with 2 other pilgrims. Turns out, the compound closes at 10 p.m., and there are no exceptions. We are advised that admissions begin again at 7 a.m. The streets are dark, and the town, what else there is of it, is also closed up. Not even a food stall to turn to. Somewhat experienced by now in navigating these surprises, I managed to find a cheap room where I can try to recover from my journey with a night's sleep. At least that's the plan. But the mosquitoes have another one. I'm safely tucked inside a mosquito net, which is capable of protecting my skin, but the mosquitoes have a backup plan. Armed with their tiny metallic audio assault weapons, they swarm my would-be resting place with inhuman tenacity. This goes on until I am simply too tired to care and pass out from exhaustion. The light from the outside world finds its way into my room sooner than I'd like. I splash my face and brush my teeth with bottled water. Then I fasten up my backpack and head back to the compound. I stop for chai at a stall near the gates and wait for the official unlocking, which doesn't actually happen at 7, as advertised. The scene on the inside is a little hard to describe without sounding like I'm making it up, but I swear I'm on the set of another remake of Stepford Wives. Everywhere there are Westerners walking around in white robes with a zombie-like bliss on their faces. I keep telling myself to keep an open mind, because really, what do I know about enlightenment? Inside the ashram's office, I discover I'll have to surrender my passport in order to check in. I am not happy about this. Most backpackers I met would not be happy about this. A passport is the traveler's equivalent of a Linus blanket. Usually, you just show the passport and let the owner write down the information. Giving it up feels a little like handing over my plane ticket home to a random stranger. But okay, here I'm here to step out of my comfort zone. I can surrender this much. Then comes the next hit. I can't rent a room because there's only one of me. The rooms are all 2-person rooms. They won't even let me pay double. The penance for being single? I have to sleep in the equivalent of a parking space on a concrete floor in a big warehouse. But wait, there's more. The helper who shows me to my parking space explains that we need to go get my mattress. I'm assuming they keep them in a different building and check them out to guests as needed. So, he explains I'll need to leave my backpack, unlocked, unattended, in my designated parking space, while we walk over to God knows where and fetch said mattress. Okay, another surrender. As we walk back across the winding compound, I wonder where exactly we are going. Then we approach the gate again, and keep going. Finally, I ask my Puttaparthi bellhop where exactly the mattresses are kept. He points across the street to a small shop where mattresses are stacked up for sale. Yep, that's not a misprint, for sale. I explain that I'm only here a couple of days. Do they buy it back when I leave? No, but I can leave it at the ashram, where they will no doubt collect it and resell it at least several hundred more times. When I bristle, this goes way beyond surrender, my helper tells me I can buy a grass mat if I like instead. Okay, at least I can take that with me. So I buy a mat for about what a grass mat would cost in the States. On my way back to my parking space, I approach a pavilion where the 8 a.m. session with His Holiness is about to begin. I already have a mat. So I take off my sandals and leave them by the wall outside the platform with 100 other pairs of shoes. Turns out the white-clad people floating around the compound have nothing on the chanting supplicants who make up the greatest portion of the audience this morning. I keep repeating the mantras of openness and acceptance, despite the numerous surprises and disappointments of the last 12 hours. Ultimately, though, it doesn't help. To cut to the chase, Baba does not walk on air, nor does he produce any vibhuti from his fingertips, nor make any rings or other gifts appear from thin air. There are no miracle cures, no one gets up and walks away from a wheelchair, and the masses are not fed from 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. After church is over, I wait for the crowd to thin a little before I roll up my mat and walk down the stairs to where I left my footwear. I find sandals, but instead of my comfortable tivas, in their place I found a pair of blown-out flip-flops. Gone is the surrender mantra. I search frantically among the few remaining pairs of footwear before it becomes painfully clear that someone has stolen my shoes. Not mistaken one pair of tivas for another, but simply stolen them. It is here I completely lose it, start cursing out loud, and sprint barefoot back to my parking space where at least my backpack still awaits, seemingly intact. I unzip it and dig out my running shoes. At least no one has stolen them. I pull them on, strap on my backpack, and march back to the office where I am now convinced I foolishly left my passport. I demand they give it back to me immediately. When they hesitate, I walk over to the stacks of passports on a long table, and before anyone can stop me, I pick up one stack after another and flip through them until I find mine. I hold it up in the air to show them, and then exit before anyone has time to do anything about it. I pass the armed guards, go through the winding compound, out the front gates, across the street, and down to the bus station, where I promptly book the next bus to Bangalore. Then I go find the nearest cafe and eat some breakfast. While I'm soothing my latest misfortune with chai and masala eggs, I realize there's Western music playing in the background. It is Sting, and the synchronicity of his lyrics comforts me. Men go crazy in congregations. They only get better one by one, one by one.